Hi there, my name's Laura and I am the Mental Health Occupational Therapist for SRUC, and this is Chrissy Harris, who's one of the pastoral support staff. So we just wanted to have a chat about loneliness today, because loneliness can affect our mental health, or the feeling of loneliness. And it's also one of the areas that people don't really talk about very much. It can often be kind of associated with feeling shame, or this kind of pressure that you should always have lots of friends in your life and be connected with others. So yeah, we just wanted to have a little chat about that and talk through some strategies that we've both used and that we might recommend to students. So Chrissy, I'll let you introduce the ideas.
Okay, thanks, Laura. So firstly, I just point out that just because you're feeling lonely, it doesn't mean you automatically want to be around crowds or around people. So what Laura and I have talked about before is things that someone can do that don't actually involve other people, because again, you may have a distance issue, their own availability may not be, meeting yours, but also sometimes it is a confidence issue in that, do you feel up to being able to go out and even meet new people, or even people you've known all your life, and as Laura said, mentioning that you're feeling lonely isn't always the easiest thing to do. So we appreciate that it isn't just about setting up dates or events and stuff like that. So what we've kind of thought about is, one of the things I thought about is, there's obviously a great lot of information out there about how animals can really help people. And I thought, in case people aren't aware, there is a great website called Borrow My Doggy. So it gives you an opportunity to experience having, time with a pet, but it's not kind of the responsibility side as well. So it's probably a bit of best of both worlds for a lot of people. So that's my first sort of tip, is have a look at that if you are an animal person. I know it's called Borrow My Doggy, so it probably is just dogs. So hopefully, but there could well be other pets out there like cats and stuff that, you might be able to go and cat sit and stuff. So yeah, that's my first tip.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's always sort of the advice to look at groups and joining clubs and things like that. And if you feel like that's something you can do, great. It takes a long time for people to become friends, so you really do need to kind of invest in that time. For me, from a more of a mental health point of view, the first thing I would say is that feeling lonely is normal, it's common, and we often look at other people's lives and think, oh, they're in a relationship, or they've got loads of friends, or whatever. And sometimes, like for me personally, I've felt my loneliest when I've been in relationships and had lots of people around me. So it doesn't kind of mean that other people don't experience that. It's a really kind of common human condition to feel lonely. And I think the first thing for me is to acknowledge that feeling of loneliness, because actually by kind of ignoring it or dismissing it or trying to minimize it, it almost makes you feel more lonely because you're not even connecting with yourself. So sometimes just sitting with that and just letting it come and think, okay, yeah, I am lonely and that does suck, can be a really helpful first step. And there's always a place for that, to just acknowledge how we feel. The second thing that I often get people to do is to think about who they do have in their lives, because our brains are wired to focus on the negative thing of like what we don't have and what we miss. So if you can get pen and paper, I'll share this diagram with you. Not super exciting, but hopefully you can see that. Maybe I'll see that screen. Can you see that, Chrissy?
Yes, circles of support.
So draw yourself a big bullseye circle, and what I want you to do is to write yourself right in that inner circle in the middle, okay? And then we want you to start on the outside. So right on the outside, write down all of the people who are paid to be in your life. So things like doctors, dentists, lecturers, all of those people that offer support, but they're they get paid for it. Okay, so that kind of changes the dynamic. And then the next circle in would be acquaintances. Like who do you have that are acquaintances, maybe work colleagues or people you chat to at the shop or whatever it is that you kind of just pass the time with, but maybe don't have that closeness with. Then the next circle in is your friends. Who do you consider to be good friends? And then in your inner circle, so in that center with you, who are your closest people that you really feel a connection to, feel valued by, and you value them, and that we have that. So I think having that kind of diagram and spending time really thinking about who you do have in your life and who you can turn to can be quite a helpful thing, rather than, you know, sitting the one day of the week when you're on your own, or maybe that weekend period. It can feel like you're completely isolated. So it's just a way of us to kind of write down and refocus our brains on what we do have in our life and how many people we can reach out to. So yeah, that was one of my tips. But first of all, always connect with yourself, acknowledge how you feel, and let that settle in. I'll stop sharing, Chrissy. Did you have more sort of practical things that we were chatting about?
Yeah, there's a couple things that kind of can go together a little bit. So people who have got to know me know I'm a huge book reader, and I have one or two authors that I will be happy to reread the same book. I don't know how many times, because it's comfort to me. I love the characters, and I was thinking, you know, that could be another practical step of maybe coming out if you're feeling a little bit alone and so on, is find either a book or, again, what I was thinking of was film or TV series that just absolutely, you know, has drawn you in, and you feel like they are people you know and care about and stuff. So yeah, I was thinking, you know, that's another way that you're not having to think about meeting people if that's not necessarily what's for you. But it just brings hopefully a bit more of some comfort, as I said.
Yeah, it's escapism, isn't it? It's that escape into just having your head somewhere else for that hour or
Yeah.
5 hours, depending on how engrossed you get into a book. And we were kind of saying the same for like a decent TV series as well, isn't it? We're both obsessed with This Is Us on Prime or Disney. If you haven't watched it, get into it. I've never felt so invested in other people's lives
Yeah.
as I did with that TV series. Um, yeah, and I guess like get in touch with your student support team, because like we kind of try and keep an eye on groups that are available or things that are going on within SRUC that you could participate with. It's quite easy to kind of be like, oh, I've got so much studying to do or so much work to do that I can't fit that in. But it's really important. Like if your mental health isn't right and you don't feel connected to others, then yeah, it can be harder to study and take in new information.
Yeah. And no, sorry, Laura, just step in. You know, again, you don't have to study in your own house, flat, whatever, on your own. There are campus libraries, there are public libraries, even a coffee shop. So maybe take advantage of stepping out now that we all can. And just because, again, you're not necessarily talking to people, but there are people around you and you're hearing noise, and it's just
Yeah.
maybe bringing it out of the you know, sort of environment that we've all got used to in the last couple of years of, you know, stuck indoors and stuff. So yeah, so again, venture out a little bit maybe, but you're not having to engage necessarily.
Yeah. I think you're right. Over the last 2 years, this is a emotion that we've all really experienced to its highest, haven't we? So yeah, we can relate to each other on that feeling of loneliness. So I hope this has been helpful, and please reach out to your student support teams if you feel like you want to discuss this further or you need some support around it. And yeah, take care.
Thank you. Bye.